Commission. Can we have a roll call, please?
Officer Shinnick?
Here.
Commissioner Hall?
Here.
Commissioner Rowe?
Here.
Commissioner Stillian?
Here.
Commissioner Brienzo is absent.
All right. I assume everybody had a chance to read the minutes from the last meeting.
I make a motion to accept.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to accept the minutes from the last meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And it's a vote. I know you guys want to talk a little bit, but I'll do the public hearings real quick because I think we can get them out of the way. Public hearing number 276, we're looking to rescind the one-way from the intersection of Walnut Street. It's on Con Street from Walnut Street to the intersection of Boston Street from 7:15 to 8:15 and 1:15 p.m. to 2:15 with a do not enter sign at the intersection of Con Street. That also includes Walnut Street, one way from the intersection of Moulton Street to the intersection of North Federal Street from those same time frames, 7:15 to 8:15 and 1:15 to 2:15 with a do not enter sign at the intersection of Walnut Street and North Federal. The reason for rescinding that is we're just basically going to take up a new ordinance with some new times because the school is changing their times of operation. So, is there anyone here to speak in favor? Anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in favor of that, rescinding that ordinance? Seeing none, is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion. What are the wishes of the board as far as rescinding?
I'll make a motion to rescind number 276.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded to rescind number 276, just those portions for Con Street and Walnut Street, because there's a bunch of other streets around the schools for that. All those in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed, and it's a vote. We'll now reestablish those same ones with different times, establishing one way on Con Street from Walnut Street to the intersection of Boston Street. The time change will now be 7:45 to 8:45 a.m. and 1:45 to 2:45 p.m. with a do not enter sign at the intersection of Con Street. Walnut Street will be the same with the same times, one way from the intersection of Moulton Street to the intersection of North Federal, with those times being changed to 7:45 to 8:45 a.m. and 1:45 p.m. to 2:45 p.m. with a do not enter sign at the end of Walnut by North Federal. Is anyone here to speak in favor? Anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. What is the wishes of the board?
Make a motion to approve 946.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to approve 946 as far as Con Street and Walnut Street, changing the time so that 7:45 to 8:45 and 1:45 to 2:45. All those in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed? And it's a vote.
So it's just the one, it's just that one sign at the end of,
Yeah.
It's
okay.
on Cons and it's on Walnut. Those two.
Okay.
Number 944, establish a three-way stop sign at the intersection of Cooper, River, and Heath Streets. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. What are the wishes of the
I'll
board?
make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve number 944. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And it's a vote. I know the gentleman from the MBTA are here, so under new business, I will take
950?
950, 951, and 952 if you want to speak on those. As far as the MBTA under the Better Bus Project is is consolidating some of the bus stops on those different streets, and if you could just say your name and who you are, where you're from, all that.
You want me to stay here, you want me to move over here? All right. So, my name is Eric Berkman, I'm from MBTA, I'm the former Lynn District Planner. Though I have a different role in the agency now, I'm trying to see this through to the end. So, as Sergeant Shinnick said, we're doing some stop consolidation on corridors where we're already doing better bus project improvements. So we can start with, basically the idea is, a lot of the stops in Lynn are older stops. They don't have the right amount of space, or they're very close together. Now we try to space the stops about 1,000 feet apart so that the bus can move through faster, with the idea being if the bus doesn't have to stop as frequently, then everybody gets a faster trip, even though you might have to walk a little bit farther to the bus stop. So these corridors, especially the broad Lewis and Ocean Street corridor, which is this map right here with the water on the side here.
I got colored ones right here.
What happens when we do these stop consolidations is you end up with, we can adjust the stops so that there's enough space for the bus to pull in and out of traffic, but you typically end up with more parking spaces than you lose. I think for this, we've been working on this for a few months now, going back and forth with the Traffic Commission and Mayor's Office and other people in the city. And for this, I think it's something, it's like between 20 and 30 parking spots that you get back with the stops that we eliminate, even with making the stops the right curb length so that the bus can pull all the way in. So if you look here, it's about, it seems like the biggest distance between stops is about 1,500 feet, so that means you might be walking about 700 feet farther to get to a bus stop, but you'll get a faster journey because the bus is stopping less frequently. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, like 14 bus stops are eliminated over like a 1.5 mile corridor. So that's a pretty good, you guys are getting a lot of parking back and you're getting a lot faster service as a result of it.
And it's gonna improve traffic flow too, where buses are gonna be pulling in and out as often.
Yeah, so when we can adjust the curb length so that the bus can pull all the way up to the curb out of the traffic lane, then you can often get a lot better traffic flow. So that's, I mean, you can look at the map, it's pretty, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Ned and I we walked these corridors back and forth like 2 or 3 times, talked to the mayor's office, talked to people on the council. I think this is the second time that I've brought this to you guys. I want to say maybe in March, there were some concerns about like where we were planning on moving the stops. So we implemented that feedback into these new plans, specifically regarding some relocations that we were planning on having. So the little gray X's here are ones that we'll eliminate. The blue ones are stops that are currently there. The stops to the far right are actually in Swampscott, I think. And then the green ones are newly located stops, which we had to do in some cases where it's just to get the spacing right, or because it's a more desirable location. For example, you're familiar with the stop on New Ocean Street that we moved once already, and now we're moving it again. So that's one of the new stops that's on there. We were able to consolidate the 2 outbound stops that were sort of paired with the New Ocean Street stop into one stop, so you get space back from that. So there's been a lot of thought, like collaborative thought that went into these, and I'm glad that we're at this point because I think it'll be a good improvement in terms of service speed, traffic flow, and as an added benefit, all these new stops are they're ADA accessible. So, because we actually can't make changes to a bus stop. So the pre-existing stops may not be ADA accessible, but the ones that are newly relocated are ADA accessible because we're not allowed to make changes to stops unless we're making them accessible. So, are there any questions on the broad Lewis Ocean Street corridor? I'll move on to the Commons next. Thoughts, feelings?
Not as of yet.
All right. So for the Commons, this one was interesting because there was even one block, I think, that had 2 stops in one block. This was a common complaint that these were so close together. I think the closest ones were between, I apologize, these labels are so small too, maybe Harding Street and Park Street, where they're like 200 feet apart, which is really, the bus hardly has a chance to pull out of the stop before it has to pull into the next stop. So this one, we're able to reduce it to the pair kind of closer to Central Square, the pair at Market Square, and then 2 pairs in between. Whereas before, there were, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 pairs in between. So to go from 6 stops to 2 is pretty good. And again, we're at like a 1,300 foot, 700 feet from the library to the next one, then 1,400 feet and 1,300 feet. So it means that at most, somebody is going to be walking 700 additional feet to get to the bus stop, which is pretty good. We tried to locate these because there is the senior center there. We are keeping the stops that are near the senior center because we don't want to make the seniors walk any farther, basically. So there, like, again, like with the broad Lewis Ocean Street corridor, there was a lot of thought that went into this one, walking back and forth, determining, like, is this one that we could feasibly move? Is there some reason we want to keep it here? Which ones can we eliminate in between? So one thing for this one, the stop in front of the library, we're actually going to be moving back closer to City Hall. There were parking meters installed all within that bus stop, and I think the one time that Ned and I were out there, there was somebody in a wheelchair. Do you remember that guy? There's a guy in a wheelchair who was like, I can't get on the bus here anymore because there's parking meters and the bus can't pull up to the curb. So I think you had talked about removing the 2 meters that are
At the
closer.
very end, yep.
Yeah, the 2 meters on the end, which will allow us to put the bus stop right at the end there. Otherwise, if we kept it where it is, we'd have to remove, I think, about 6 meters so that the bus has room to position in and out. But if we move it to the end, then it's only 2 meters.
So it's right at Franklin Street now, or it will be?
That's
It will
correct,
be.
yeah. So there's the shelter, kind of when the bus is going off to the right on Franklin Street, and then if it's going on to North Common Street, there will be a stop right there.
Right in the corner of
Yeah.
the Franklin and the Commons, it's actually.
Which works out great because the bus can use the width of the intersection to position against the curb, and that's really where you save a lot of your parking. Because you don't have to eliminate parking for the bus to approach and maneuver up to the curb if the bus can already do that in the intersection where there's no parking spots anymore.